Pictures are emerging of individuals wearing KKK robes in Nevada and holding signs endorsing Donald Trump. Now, before everyone's head explodes, there are a number of caveats that I want to mention. Caveat number one is we don't know for sure whether or not these people are actually Trump supporters. They could be people that support a different campaign trying to make Trump supporters look bad. But my argument to that would be Trump supporters already look pretty hideous. You don't really have to go that far to do it. But nonetheless, a number of politicians and media people in Nevada tweeted about this, including some pictures. One of those politicians was Senator Aaron D. Ford, who said, "So friends of mine observed this at a Republican caucus location this evening. I'll admit I'm boiling right now."
And a nice emoji from the senator.
Right. I love it. I love that there's an emoji.
I'm so mad about the KKK that I'll put a mad emoji on.
Yeah, I mean, look, I love emojis. I don't think that it takes away from the message. I think it only adds to it. John Humbert, a person on Twitter, also posted some pictures, so you can take a look at that. Good God, 2 protesters in full KKK garb. Now, look, again, we don't know who they are. Some people are making the point that their hands look black. Look, the lighting makes it very difficult to decipher whether or not they're black or what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know who they are. That's the important thing to remember. But if you want actual data and evidence as to what the real supporters of Donald Trump believe, I have that for you, and it's pretty despicable.
Yeah, and Donald Trump has, on numerous occasions, accidentally retweeted white power groups. Now, the reason he's retweeting them is because he looks at them and goes, "Oh, I totally agree with that message, retweet." Now, he does not necessarily because he thinks, "Oh, I'm in favor of white power," or he knows it's from a white power group. But if you're accidentally continue to agree with white power groups, you might be a racist, right? So now, in this case, I would be shocked if they were actually Trump supporters.
Yeah.
Because look, that it sounds like a trolling thing, right? Mm-hmm. It looks a lot more like someone like, "Oh, we're showing you what actual Trump supporters are like." But they're probably not exposing themselves now because they're realizing, we might have gone too far. Even if we were trolling them, probably not the best idea to show up in KKK clan outfits, right?
More than ever, this election cycle shows you just how divided the country is, just how far people are willing to go when it comes to expressing their hatred for minorities and groups that are different from themselves. There were a number of polls, including one from Public Policy Polling and another one from YouGov, that looked at Nevada voters specifically, those who supported Republican candidates and those who specifically supported Trump. And the numbers are devastating. So according to Public Policy Polling, and caveat on that, they do tend to lean a little Democratic.
But no, I'll do counter caveat. Mm-hmm. They had the most accurate polling in the 2012 election.
Right.
Okay. So it's, yes, they might, their proclivity might be progressive, but it's irrelevant because the numbers speak for themselves. They were ranked #1 in most accurate in 2012.
Okay, so that's good to know. They found that 70% of Trump voters in South Carolina would prefer the Confederate battle flag to have remained aloft on their state house grounds, and 38% wish the South had won the Civil War. I mean, if that isn't unpatriotic, I don't know what is. Where you wish the South, the rebels, those that were against the U.S.,
that declared war against America.
Yes.
You wish they had won. The America haters, the people that murdered Americans, right, for their cause, you wish they had won. That's 38% in South Carolina of Donald Trump supporters.
Yes. Now, 20% of Trump voters disagreed with the executive order, which freed slaves in states that were in rebellion against the federal government.
Now, this poll is a YouGov Economist poll, okay, is deeply depressing. That is not among Republican voters. Now, the Trump supporters are. But overall, to be fair, you know that among all voters, 13% said that they agree that that was not the right thing to do. Now, look, let's be even more fair. There was a couple of questions before that about executive orders. And you know how the Republicans are primed to be against Obama's executive orders. So when you put in the caveat that it's not a caveat, but the explanation of the executive order that freed all slaves in the states that were in rebellion against the federal government, you might have triggered I'm against all executive orders no matter what they are, right? But, dude, it says in the question that freed all slaves in the states that were in rebellion against the federal government. And still 13% of Americans and 20%, a full fifth of Donald Trump supporters say, yeah, we wish Lincoln hadn't freed the slaves that way.
Yeah, look, what Trump did is he emboldened the racists that have been behind the scenes, right? The ones that didn't feel, strong enough to come forward with their hatred. You have a candidate who's very open about his hatred, and all of a sudden they come out of the woodwork and they share how much they hate minorities, how much they wish that slavery was still a thing in the US. It's depressing. And oftentimes when we do stories about racism, whether it's a racist party on a college campus or a situation where a minority is being discriminated against either in the workplace or even at a restaurant, people think, oh, you're race baiting, you're race baiting. You're bringing up an issue that we've already conquered in the US. Really, we've conquered this issue? A full 20% of respondents in this study say, or survey say, no, we wanted slavery today.
So the reason I don't believe that the Klan guys dressed up as Klan guys, are Trump supporters is because Trump supporters wouldn't wear a hood. They're very open about their racism. That's why they like Donald Trump so much. It's not that Ted Cruz and the others don't do the same kind of race baiting and bigotry. Cruz, in fact, introduced legislation to make sure all Muslims are banned from the country. He's not just talking about it, he's doing it, right? It's the reason they like Trump more than those other guys is because he's not bothering with the coded language. He's just saying it. I don't like Mexicans, they're criminals and rapists. I don't like Muslims, I'm going to ban them all, right? I don't believe Obama is a real Christian or a real American because I think he might be Muslim and he's, come on, you know why he's, and not only because he's black, but because I'm even going to question whether he really got good grades from the Ivy League schools that he went to. Come on, a black guy getting good grades? It's so obvious, right? In fact, Trump then turned around and used it against his Republican opponents. He questioned whether Marco Rubio is a citizen. Marco Rubio was born in Florida.
It's amazing.
Now, the only reason you would question that is because you're like, come on, he's Hispanic.
His name's Marco Rubio.
Of course, he's not a real American like you and me. They took off the hoods.
Let me see the long form birth certificate.
The Trump supporters are proud of how racist they are. They don't have to bother hiding their faces.